Did you really think I loved you? Those words echoed in my ears as I lay paralyzed in the hospital bed, my body broken from the car crash that was supposed to kill me. Through my half-closed eyes, I watched Marcus, my boyfriend of 2 years, laugh with his mother Victoria as they discussed my life insurance payout. The brakes worked perfectly, Marcus said, checking his phone casually. He should have died on impact. How is this idiot still breathing? Victoria's heels clicked closer to my bed. Keep your voice down. The nurse said he's basically brain dead anyway. Another few hours and we can pull the plug. Then his inheritance, his trust fund, everything becomes yours as his listed partner. My heart monitor beeped weakly. I wanted to scream, to move, to do anything, but my body was a prison. They had tried to murder me. The man I loved, the man I'd introduced to my family, who I'd named in my will and insurance policies, had tampered with my brakes. God, he was so pathetically easy to manipulate, Marcus continued, his voice dripping with disgust. All those I love yous and romantic dates. I deserve an Oscar for pretending to care about his boring stories and tragic childhood. Something inside me shattered that wasn't physical. Every kiss, every promise, every moment I thought we'd shared, all lies. What about his friend Ryan? Victoria asked. He's been asking questions. Ryan's harmless. Besides, once Ethan's dead, what can he prove? It was an accident. Tragic, really. I'll play the devastated boyfriend perfectly. The machine beside me began to flatline. I felt myself slipping away, drowning in betrayal and helplessness. The last thing I heard was Marcus's voice. Finally. Let's go celebrate. Then, nothing. Sir? Sir, are you okay? I gasped, jerking upright so violently I nearly fell off the couch. My couch. In my old apartment. The one I'd sold 3 years ago to move in with Marcus. A delivery guy stood at my open door, holding a package with concern written across his face. You were making sounds like you were having a nightmare. I rang the bell 3 times. I stared at my hands, whole, unmarked, moving. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. The date on the screen made my blood run cold. September 15, 2022. 3 years ago. The day before the Hartwell Charity Gala where I'd first met Marcus. I'm fine, I whispered, my voice shaking. Thank you. After he left, I stumbled to the bathroom mirror. My face stared back, younger, unscarred, alive. The small scar I'd gotten from Marcus, accidentally, pushing me into a glass table during an argument, didn't exist yet. My ribs didn't ache from the fall down the stairs he'd caused last year. Next year. In my previous life. I'd been reborn. The memories flooded back with crystal clarity, every manipulation, every lie, every time Marcus isolated me from friends and controlled my finances while pretending to be the perfect boyfriend. The way he'd convinced me to make him my beneficiary, because we're building a life together, babe. How he'd slowly poisoned my business relationships and made me dependent on him. And I remembered my death. The brake failure on that rainy highway. Marcus's cold laughter as I died. My phone buzzed again. A reminder, Hartwell Gala tomorrow, 7 p.m. Blue suit. Don't forget Marcus's gift. Marcus's gift. In my previous life, I'd bought him an expensive watch to wear to the gala. Our first date, where he'd swept me off my feet with practiced charm. I'd been so desperate for love after my parents' death that I'd fallen completely for his act. Not this time. I deleted the reminder and opened my laptop, pulling up my investment portfolio. I had 3 years of knowledge about market crashes, surprise buyouts, and winning startups. I knew which cryptocurrencies would explode and which companies would fall. More importantly, I knew exactly who Marcus Reed really was, and who his boss was. Alexander Sinclair. The tech billionaire CEO of Sinclair Industries, where Marcus worked as a junior executive assistant. In my previous life, I'd never met Alex. Marcus had kept us carefully separated, probably afraid his wealthy boss would see through his schemes. But I remembered reading about Alex in business magazines during my recovery periods between Marcus's accidents. Alexander Sinclair, brilliant, ruthless in business, but known for his integrity. Never married, intensely private. The article I'd read while hiding my cracked ribs had called him the last honest man in corporate America. A plan began forming in my mind. If I was going to survive this second chance, I needed power, protection, and revenge. I needed to destroy Marcus before he could destroy me. And I needed someone powerful enough that Marcus couldn't touch me. I opened my closet and pulled out my best suit, not the blue one Marcus would expect, but a sharp black one that made me look successful and confident. The man Marcus had broken down systematically was gone. This Ethan Carter knew what monsters looked like. Tomorrow at the gala, I wouldn't be looking for love. I'd be looking for an opportunity. And if fate was kind, maybe I'd spill champagne on a certain billionaire CEO. I caught my reflection in the window, barely recognizing the cold determination in my eyes. Did you really think I loved you? Marcus's words echoed in my memory. I smiled darkly. Did you really think you'd get away with it? The game was about to begin. And this time I knew all the rules. 6 weeks after the gala, and Marcus was everywhere. I couldn't escape him. Every business networking event, every investor meeting, every conference. There he was, always watching with those calculating eyes that I'd once mistaken for adoration. Ethan, what a coincidence. Marcus called across the lobby of the Sterling Hotel, where I was meeting a potential investor. His smile was perfectly crafted, but I could see the confusion underneath. In my previous life, by this point we'd been inseparable. Now, I barely acknowledged his existence. Marcus. I nodded politely, keeping my distance. I've been trying to reach you. You haven't returned my calls. He stepped closer, that familiar cologne making my stomach turn. Did I do something wrong? At the gala, I thought we had a connection. A connection. He meant the moment he'd approached me with champagne and charm, ready to execute his well-rehearsed seduction. But this time, I'd already been talking to Alexander Sinclair, after accidentally bumping into him and spilling my drink on his expensive suit. I've been busy, I said curtly. My portfolio's been performing exceptionally well. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Suspicion. In my previous life, I'd been struggling financially when we met, still reeling from my parents' death and poor investments. Now, thanks to my knowledge of the future, I tripled my net worth in 6 weeks. I'd invested heavily in a small AI startup that I knew would be acquired by a tech giant next month. I'd shorted stocks that would crash and bought into markets that would soar. That's impressive, Marcus said slowly. Maybe we could grab dinner? I'd love to hear about your strategies. Mr. Carter? A familiar voice interrupted, and my heart inexplicably skipped. Alexander Sinclair approached with his characteristic confident stride, looking immaculate in a charcoal gray suit. Sorry I'm late. Shall we head up to the conference room? Marcus's face went pale. Mr. Sinclair, I didn't know you had a meeting here. Read. Alex's tone was professional but dismissive. Shouldn't you be preparing the Henderson presentation? Yes, sir. Of course. Marcus's jaw clenched as he looked between us. I could practically see the gears turning in his head. His boss and his target together. I'll see you at the office. As Marcus walked away, I caught him glancing back, his expression dark with something that looked like possessive rage. He's obsessed with you, Ryan said that evening, scrolling through his phone at my apartment. Marcus has been asking everyone about you. Where you're working, who you're seeing, how you made your money. It's creepy, Ethan. Let him ask. I poured us both wine, my hand steady despite the anxiety Marcus's attention caused. He can't touch me now. Because of Alexander Sinclair? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Ethan, I know he's gorgeous and powerful, but getting involved with your stalker's boss seems complicated. If only Ryan knew how complicated. I couldn't tell him about my rebirth, about knowing that Marcus would eventually try to kill me, about how Alexander Sinclair was my best shield against Marcus's schemes, and maybe something more. Over the past 6 weeks, Alex and I had developed a genuine partnership. What started as me deliberately seeking his protection had evolved into something unexpected. He was brilliant, yes, but also kind in ways Marcus could never fake. When I'd mentioned my parents' death in passing, Alex had listened with real empathy, sharing his own story of losing his father young. Alex is different, I said quietly. Different how? You've known him for 6 weeks. Sometimes that's all it takes to see someone clearly, especially when you've spent 2 years being slowly destroyed by a monster. My phone buzzed. A text from Alex. Dinner tomorrow? I want to discuss the venture capital opportunity. Also, I just enjoy your company. I smiled despite myself, then noticed another notification. An email from an unknown address with no subject line. The message was simple but chilling. He doesn't deserve you. I do. You'll remember that eventually. The next evening Marcus made his move. I arrived at Alex's office building for our dinner meeting to find the lobby buzzing with gossip. Alex's assistant looked frazzled. Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry, but there's been an incident. Someone leaked confidential files about Mr. Sinclair's new product launch. The board is meeting now. My blood ran cold. This was it, Marcus's first major attack, happening earlier than in my previous life. I remembered reading about Sinclair Industries' leaked prototype plans, A scandal that had rocked the company. At the time, I'd had no idea Marcus was involved. Where's Alex? Top floor conference room, but I was already moving toward the elevator. I knew exactly what was happening. Marcus had partnered with Julian Cross, Alex's main business rival, to steal proprietary information. And I knew they planned to frame someone, originally a random employee, but now? The elevator doors opened to chaos. Board members arguing, lawyers on phones. I spotted Marcus lurking near Alex's office and our eyes met. He smiled, cold, calculating, victorious. He'd framed me. I walked toward Alex's office just as he emerged, his face a mask of controlled fury. Ethan, we need to talk. I know what you're going to say, I replied calmly, aware Marcus was watching. Someone leaked your files and the evidence points to me. Digital footprints from my IP address, maybe some emails I sent to competitors. Alex's eyes widened slightly. How did you? Because I know who really did it. I looked directly at Marcus, who'd gone rigid. And I can prove it. Marcus's confident smile faltered for just a second, and I saw it. Fear. He didn't know how I knew. But he was starting to realize I was playing a game he couldn't understand. My office. Now, Alex said. As we walked past Marcus, I leaned close and whispered, Did you really think I wouldn't see you coming? The hunt had begun. I trust you. 3 words from Alexander Sinclair that meant everything. After I'd provided digital evidence tracing the leak back to Marcus's personal devices, evidence I'd carefully planted after hacking his system using passwords I remembered from my previous life, Alex had not only believed me but promoted our partnership. Now, 3 months later, I stood in his penthouse as he poured us wine, the city glittering below us like fallen stars. You saved my company, Ethan, Alex said softly, handing me a glass. Julian Cross is facing federal charges, and Marcus? I still can't believe my own assistant betrayed me. If only you knew the half of it. Marcus hadn't been arrested. His mother Victoria had hired expensive lawyers who'd somehow made the evidence inadmissible. He'd been fired, humiliated, but free. And that made him dangerous. Alex, I started, but he stepped closer, his hand gently touching my face. I know this is complicated. I'm your business partner, and there's the whole situation with Marcus, but... He paused, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen him. I can't stop thinking about you. I've been alone at the top for so long, I forgot what it felt like to connect with someone real. My chest tightened. This wasn't part of the plan. I was supposed to use Alex as protection, as a shield against Marcus. But somewhere between late-night strategy sessions and his genuine kindness, I'd fallen for him. Truly, deeply fallen. I'm scared, I admitted. Of trust. Of being hurt again. Then we'll go slow, Alex whispered and kissed me. For the first time since my rebirth, I felt something other than rage and fear. I felt hope. The rumors started the next week. Did you hear about Ethan Carter? Voices whispered at the investor conference. Apparently, he slept his way into Sinclair's business. Multiple affairs, used people for money. I watched the whispers spread like poison, and I knew exactly who'd planted them. Marcus. Ryan called me, panicked. Ethan, someone sent anonymous emails to every major investor in the city. They're claiming you're a con artist, that you manipulated your way into Alex's life. There are fake documents, photoshopped images. My phone buzzed. Alex, we need to talk. My office. No. When I arrived, Alex's expression was carefully neutral. The board received some concerning information about you. All lies, I said firmly. Marcus is trying to destroy my credibility. I know. Alex's face softened. I told them exactly that. But Ethan, he's escalating. Victoria Reed has been making calls to our investors. Julian Cross is funding a smear campaign from prison somehow. They're coordinating an attack on both of us. Then we attack back. I pulled out my phone, showing Alex the encrypted recordings I'd been collecting. I set up a meeting with Marcus last week. I pretended to be weak, told him I missed him, that I'd made a mistake. He confessed everything. The sabotage, the partnership with Julian, his plans to frame me for corporate espionage. Alex stared at me. You used yourself as bait? I needed proof. I needed insurance because I know how this ends if I'm not careful. That was insanely reckless. Alex grabbed my shoulders. What if he'd hurt you? I can handle Marcus. No, you can't. Alex's voice rose with genuine fear. Ethan, whatever history you have with him, whatever he did to make you this cold and calculated, you can't fight him alone. Let me help you. Let me protect you. I wanted to tell him everything. About my death, my rebirth, the 2 years of systematic abuse that Marcus had inflicted. But the words wouldn't come. Instead I kissed him. Desperate, afraid, and absolutely in love with a man I'd only meant to use. Ryan's call came at 2 a.m. Ethan, I followed Marcus like you asked. He met with Victoria and some guy, looked like hired muscle. I heard them planning something about the anniversary gala. They kept saying, final solution, and your name. My blood turned to ice. The company anniversary gala was in 3 days, the same event where, in my previous life, I'd already been dead and buried. Did you record it? Every word. But Ethan, they mentioned attacking both you and Alex. They're planning something big. I immediately called Alex, but it went to voicemail. Then I got a text from an unknown number. A photo of Alex unconscious in his car, blood trickling from his temple. Come to the warehouse on 5th and Main. Alone. Or I finish what I started. I was out the door before I could think, driving recklessly through empty streets. The warehouse loomed dark and abandoned. Every instinct screamed trap, but if Marcus had hurt Alex. I found them in the center of the empty space. Alex was tied to a chair, conscious but dazed. Marcus stood over him with a gun. There he is. Marcus's voice was manic, unhinged. My Ethan, did you really think you could replace me? That he could give you what I did? You gave me nothing but pain, I said coldly. I gave you purpose. You were nothing when I found you, weak, pathetic, grieving. I made you need me. You made me a victim. I stepped closer, phone recording in my pocket. But you made a mistake, Marcus. You underestimated me. How did you know? Marcus's gun wavered. The passwords, the accounts, the future investments. It's like you knew everything before it happened. How is that possible? Behind him, I saw movement. Ryan had followed me, and security I'd secretly hired was surrounding the warehouse. Because you're predictable, I lied smoothly. Every move you made, I anticipated. Every scheme, every manipulation. I saw it coming because you're not half as clever as you think. Marcus lunged forward, but security burst in. In the chaos, his gun fired. The bullet meant for me hit Alex's chair, splintering wood. Then everything went dark. Alex threw himself in front of me. The bullet that should have hit my chest tore through his shoulder instead. We collapsed together as security swarmed Marcus, his screams of rage echoing through the warehouse. You idiot, I whispered, pressing my hands against Alex's wound. Why would you? Because I love you, he gasped, his face pale but his eyes clear. Whatever you're hiding, whatever happened to make you so afraid, I love you anyway. Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus was dragged away, still screaming. How did you know? How did you know everything? I held Alex tighter, my hands stained with his blood, and finally understood. I'd been given a second chance not just for revenge, but for this. For real love. The anniversary gala proceeded as planned, but with a twist. 2 weeks later, Alex stood beside me on stage, his arm in a sling as investors and press filled the grand ballroom. Marcus, Victoria, and Julian had thought they'd destroy us here. Instead, they'd given us the perfect stage for their exposure. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex began, his voice strong. Tonight, I want to address recent events. As you know, there was an attempt on my life and the life of my partner, Ethan Carter. The room fell silent. What you don't know is that this was part of a coordinated scheme involving corporate espionage, fraud, and attempted murder. He nodded to his lawyer, who began distributing folders. Inside, you'll find evidence of Julian Cross's illegal activities, Marcus Reed's systematic sabotage of this company, and Victoria Reed's conspiracy to commit murder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I stepped forward, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Marcus Reed spent months trying to destroy me, first through manipulation and abuse, then through elaborate schemes to steal my assets and reputation. But his greatest mistake was underestimating what a survivor can do when given a second chance. On the screens behind us, recordings played. Marcus confessing to sabotage. Victoria discussing the accident she'd planned for the gala, poisoning champagne meant for both Alex and me. Julian coordinating everything from prison through burner phones. The evidence was irrefutable. Security footage showed Marcus entering the gala venue 3 days ago, tampering with the champagne fountain. But what he didn't know was that I'd anticipated this, remembered the champagne toast from my previous life that had never happened because I was already dead. This time, I'd had the entire system replaced and monitored. Mr. Reed, a reporter shouted. Marcus Reed has just been arrested at his apartment. Police say they found evidence of the poisoning plot. The room erupted. Investors demanded answers. Police stormed in with warrants. Victoria Reed was escorted out in handcuffs, her designer dress and perfect makeup unable to hide her defeat. Alex took my hand. It's over. But I knew better. As security footage played on the screens, I caught a glimpse of Marcus being dragged into a police car. His eyes found the camera, found me through the broadcast, and his expression promised that even from prison this wasn't finished. 3 months later, Alex proposed on the rooftop of Sinclair Tower. I know you're still healing, he said, holding out a simple platinum band. I know there are parts of your past you're not ready to share. But Ethan, I want every tomorrow with you. The broken parts, the guarded parts, all of it. The city stretched below us, the same view I'd seen in my previous life when I'd stood here once, trapped in Marcus's world, contemplating how empty my existence had become. Then this rooftop had been a symbol of my cage. Now it was freedom. Yes, I whispered. Our wedding was intimate. Ryan as best man, Alex's sister as maid of honor, and a handful of trusted friends. No press, no spectacle. Just us choosing each other. During our vows, I almost told Alex everything. About death and rebirth, about the future I'd changed. But some truths were too impossible to share. I promised to trust you, I said instead. To let you see the real me, even the parts I've kept hidden. I promise to protect you, Alex replied. And to build a life where you never have to hide again. The news played during our honeymoon in Santorini. Marcus Reed was sentenced today to 15 years in federal prison for corporate espionage, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. His mother, Victoria Reed, received 10 years as an accomplice. Julian Cross received an additional 20 years added to his existing sentence. I turned off the television. Alex wrapped his arms around me from behind. Do you feel closure? He asked. I feel free, I said honestly. In my previous life, Marcus had stolen everything. My trust, my money, my life itself. Now he had nothing while I had everything. Good. Alex kissed my neck. Because I want you thinking only about our future, not his past. Our future. Words I never thought I'd hear again. That evening, as we watched the sunset paint the Aegean Sea in gold and crimson, a hotel attendant delivered an envelope to our villa. This just arrived for Mr. Carter, she said cheerfully. Inside was a single card with elegant handwriting. Congratulations on your marriage. I know your secret, that somehow you knew everything before it happened. Impossible things. We should talk. You're not the only one who's been given a second chance. A friend. My hands trembled. Alex noticed immediately. Ethan? What's wrong? I stared at the card, my mind racing. Someone else knew. Someone else had been reborn. Nothing, I lied, forcing a smile. Just wedding spam. But as I watched the sun disappear into the sea, I couldn't shake the feeling that my story, our story, was far from over. Somewhere out there, another player had entered the game. And this time I didn't know the rules.